Okay. Yeah, so today we'll be doing Excel and Excel functions. Am I recording my pressing my screen? Okay. Okay. Yeah, today we'll be learning Excel and Excel functions. Yeah, let's get into it. As always, go to the thing and download. There'll be a couple of Excel files, but before that, there's a lot of basic stuff that I need to show you. Oh, by the way, well done on assignment 8. I think I evaluated like 12 of your assignments from both sections. All of you got 25s. Well done. Really well done. A few of them from section 7, they told me that the extra credit stuff helped, but I don't know if that's the case with you guys because you were the ones who complained. But okay, let's get right into it. We'll be introducing Excel environment and we'll be starting a new workbook, a worksheet, entering data in calculations with built-in functions and formulae. These functions are very similar to the ones we did in JavaScript, but instead it's already pre-written for you. You're just using in a built-in function. Formatting and structure. Screw it. Something's bothering me. Okay. A worksheet is basically a single page spreadsheet containing information. A workbook is a file. You can think of it like a worksheet is a document and a workbook is like a folder which contains few other documents, few other files in it. To create a workbook, again, open up your Excel. The commands that I'll be showing today will be for Mac because I use a Mac. If you use a Windows laptop, you can Google the equivalent for it. But if you press Command N, it should open up a new file. Yep. And there's a new workbook. You can change. You can change the name here. We'll do that later. You can click on the plus symbol here. Is it visible for you guys? Screw it, I'm not recording it. Why should I? Where will we? Okay, calculations with formulas and built-in functions. Okay, let's try out a few. If you want a formula, let's say something like sum, for example. The first thing with we'd be using a lot of formulas today. You'd always need the equal to symbol. This is something that beginners tend to miss out on. You'd always have to start off with an equal to symbol. Don't forget that. And then you do something like sum, say 1, 2. That'll give you 3. But this wouldn't be a realistic kind of use case that we'd be using. A lot of use cases that we'd be using would have values already entered in a cell. And as the values in these cells change, say I have this for sum, I'd want my sum to appear here. Let me say sum. And here, if you want the sum, you'd put equal to SUM again, bracket open, select this cell, plus, or sorry, comma. The way this takes, remember arguments from functions back in JavaScript? These are the arguments for this sum function, the sum function that's in Excel. You would just give 1, comma the other, it'll give you the sum. It's 70. This is pretty simple. You can just do 20 plus 50, but what if I change this to 40? That'll automatically change. Does it make sense? Yep.
Am I supposed to have Excel downloaded to my computer?
Yep.
Yeah.
If you want to follow along.
Yeah, I know.
You can open the PC. You know, the stuff in Google Sheets, the commands are not the same sometimes. It changes. You can use the PC right in front of you. It should be the same. It should have Excel. So what if, say, I have a bunch of values here, right? Say, what if I don't want to type the formula for all of these? I would just do this, right? Everybody look up. I would just do this. I would just drag it, and it'll give me the sum for all these. You see how it works. But if you can, I don't know if you can see this. I don't know if it's big enough. This is, so in our, what was it? Oh, even before we get into that, something that's important. How do you refer to this cell, for example? What is the cell called? How do you, B2. So you first name the column name, and then the row number. So that's how you refer to cells. So this is A1, B2, and so on. If you want to kind of, if it's somewhere in the middle, you can't check what the cell is, select the column and click on command, is it? I think command. And then, for example, if you want the 21st, you'll see where it intersects. It'll show you where the point intersects. The darkened thing is a place where it intersects, and so on. Yeah. So the formula here, the one we saw, was, what is it? C4, right? So C4 comma D4. That's the formula. But once I dragged it down, it automatically makes it C5 and D5, right? And if you notice here, it makes it C6 and D6. Because I'm doing it horizontally, it changes the rows. What if I do it this way? What will it do? What do you think it'll do? It changes the columns instead of the rows. So here it makes C4 and D4, C5 and D5, right? Notice what happens here. C4 and D4 becomes D4 and E4. Do you get it? And so on. So what if I don't want to change the columns? What if it's C4 and D4 here? I wanted C4 and D4 throughout. What would I do? This is what we call relative path, relative referencing. If you want absolute referencing, you'd put a $sign in the front of the row or column. So if I put it in front of both row and column, so here I'm putting it in front of both C and 4, right? So it's relative referencing for, it's absolute referencing for both. If I do that, and if I drag it, all of these will be 60. Because in the formula, it'll be C4 and D4 throughout. You see it? Yes, no, yes. Speak up, speak up. So what if I want the row number to change, but not the column? What would I do? I take up the $symbol for the row number, which is 4 here. And if I drag it, it'll work as intended. Because the column is not going to change here. I don't think it's a good example, 60 and 60. Let me change this. Let me make it 40. So yeah, 60, 50, and 90. The column number becomes from C4 to D4, C5 to D5, C6 to D6. But, sorry, the row number changes, the column number doesn't. So what happens if I take the dollar in front of the column and put it in front of the row number? What do you expect to happen? Anybody, what do you expect to happen?
Keep the same,
It'll keep the column the same, but it'll change the row. So it basically will have C4, D4 throughout because we're doing it vertically, right? But what will happen if I do this horizontally? Remember, it's keeping your row number same, and it's just changing a column number, so it changes it from C4, D4 to D4, E4, and E4, whatever, F4. I hope it makes sense. Yeah, so if you want the same thing for both, ideally you should do dollar for both the column and row. So, oops, there was space. So that's absolute and relative referencing. I hope you understood it. Yeah, make sure to start your formulas with the equal to symbol. Otherwise, they don't work. It doesn't make sense for the PC if you don't use the equal to symbol. It's a very common mistake to do without putting an equal to. If I just put sum of whatever, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. But if you put in the equal to sign, it will. And when you're trying to autocomplete, again, if you're doing it the right way, just like Visual Studio Code, Excel should autocomplete stuff. If you click on enter, it's not going to work. The way you select that thing is not by clicking on enter. The way you do it in in Excel is by clicking on tab. So try clicking on tab and it'll automatically do sum for you, or say, for example, average, right? And I don't want to type the entire word average. It shows average as the first thing. If you just click on tab, it'll autofill the thing. If you do enter, it won't do it. It'll just do AV. And it's not a valid formula. What else? Uh, yeah. Let's do the widget, the formula widget. Go to formulas. It's already half an hour. Here you can insert function and you can do sum, average. Say, for example, let me do average of, I don't know, these two cells. Oh, I already had something here. Okay, let me select the cell and take the average of those two cells. I would just click on average, select average, select these two cells. So you can select it here. I would do, I don't know, 70, which is D6 and E6, and do done. It'll give me the average of 65 and so on. What else? Yeah, you can do colons to. Okay. You can do colons to select multiple things. So say, for example, I'm selecting all of these, right? I would do, let us type our own formulas to get used to it. I would do something like sum of, and oops, I'm doing the same mistake, equal to sum of, select multiple things. So it'll be C5 colon E5. The way, again, you would type it out yourself if you wanted to do it, C5, or let's say C4, for example. C4 all the way to E4. And when you're typing it out, again, Excel will highlight whatever you're summing up. It'll highlight the part of the code, part of the cells which you're using, and it'll give you the sum for that. What else? I think that's about it. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. You can take a look into it later if you want to. Absolute referencing is just you putting dollars in front of both the column and the row would keep both column and the row same. If you put a dollar in front of the row alone, if I have A1 and if I drag it, remember there's a difference between dragging stuff horizontally and vertically. If you drag it vertically, it'll change the rows. It'll change the columns. So if I drag it vertically, it'll change A to B, B to C, C to D, and so on. So if I do this and I drag it vertically, horizontally, it's going to change it to B1, C1, D1, and so on. If I do this and drag it vertically, it's not going to change anything because vertically dragging it changes only the rows. It changes A1 to A2, A3, and so on. But since we have a dollar in front of the one symbol, it's not going to make it A2. It's not going to make it A3. It'll just keep one constant. And similarly for dollar in front of A, if you drag it horizontally, it would change it to B1, C1 if there wasn't a dollar. But since you have the dollar, it makes it absolute, and it just keeps A1 as A1. But if you do it vertically, it would change A1 to A2 because doing it vertically only changes the row and not the column. Yeah. Auto sum. This is another interesting feature. So it's for lazy people who just don't want to select anything, who don't want to write formulas. I would just select this thing, the cell in below all the other cells you want. If I click on auto sum, it automatically selects the stuff above it in a column, in a straight column, and it'll give me the sum. If I click on enter, it's just going to do 50. Instead of writing the sum formula yourself, it's doing it by itself. And again, if you select a cell, usually you'd be able to see only the value that's in. But in your formula cell here, you'll see what the formula is. I mean, this is not proper. For example, if you go to this, Not even my screen. Should we just sack it off? It's not my screen. What's showing? It's all done. We're good. Okay. Where were we? Why is this showing up this way? Is it recording? Okay. Okay. What are we doing? Auto sum. Oh yeah, you got it. So if I just click on auto sum for this, it would just add up everything in the same column above it, and it would just throw me the value. So yeah, it's like a lazier version of doing sum. Yeah, copying formulas. This I showed you. If you want to copy formula, you would just the bottom thing which shows like a small box, you would drag it and it would automatically apply the same formula, and so on. Average function, we saw average. I hope we saw average. If not, again, I'll do it again. Equal to average. Oops. Again, you know why I did that? Because I clicked on enter instead of tab. You have to do tab. And I would select, I don't know, I want these. C6 to E6. If you want the whole bunch of rows or columns through a certain range, you would do that. Or say, what if I wanted something from C4 all the way to E6? I can do that as well. Let's change it to C4. You'll have the entire grid selected, and it will give you the average for all of those. Yep. To display formulas and not values. So in this case, again, you can just see the values, right? In the cell, in itself, you can see only the values, only in the function, only in the formula bar can you see the actual formula that's happening. What if I want to see the formula instead of the value? You can do Excel, preferences, I think it's view. And yeah, check formulas here. And I would see all the formulas instead of the values. But again, I don't think you'll be using it, just so you know. Okay. What else? Formulas and structure, inserting rows, cells, and deleting them. Resizing columns. Let's see how to do that. So say I want to insert a row here. Rows always get inserted above. So if I want to insert something in between 5 and 6, I would select this row. Oh, I don't think I showed you this. So if you want to select an entire row, you click on the, entire column, you click on the column alphabet and you'll select the entire column. If you want to select the entire row, you would click on the number and select the entire row. If you just want to select a single box, you would do that, a certain row and column. But if I say I want something in between 5 and 6, I would select 6. I would do insert. It would insert a row right on top of cell 6. And if I wanted to insert a column between D and E, I would select E and I would do insert, and it would insert a column in between those. But say yes, because your E changes, right? The values in so your formula will remain the same here. So my formula here was, what was it? It was C4 to D4. Was it D4? Yeah. So if you had a cell here, this becomes your new E. Whatever, if you'd use E in your formula, this becomes your new E. But your new E is empty, right? It's not going to have a value. Your sums will change. Yes. That's why if you don't want to change, you should use absolute and not relative. If you want relative, then use relative. Say I want to insert a cell here, I can do this. Click on insert, insert and shift cells to right. So it would shift this 40 to right, insert and shift to left. It would move this to left, or insert an entire row or column. So say I want to move 40 down, I would select down, and it inserts a new cell here and moves 40 down. What else? Resizing columns. I think you guys know this. If you can just drag around, play with it. Yeah, you can resize stuff that way. Same with rows. Format cells, borders. Okay, let me show you how this works. Borders. So say, for example, I want to create a border for this. I would select all the things I want in. Was it insert or nope? What was it? It was format cells. Yep. So in format cells, go to border, click on whatever type of border you want. And this would do only the outline stuff. This would do the inside as well. Say I want a full inside and outside. So I'd select both and I'd do OK, and it creates like a table layout for your entire thing. But if you want just say the outline, you can again right click, format cells, go to border, the border tab, and just say the outline, and it'll just do only the outline. It won't do the inside stuff. Conditional formatting is another important tool. Where is it? Is it in home? Yep, conditional formatting. So say select these, click on conditional formatting. You can highlight cells greater than a certain value, less than a certain value, between, and all of that. So let's say greater than, I don't know, let's say 20. Okay, it'll highlight all the cells that are greater than 20, and so on. You can use this for other stuff as well. Headers and footers. Okay, I don't think I showed you this part. So there are multiple views in the bottom pane. You can select this. You can add headers to it. It splits your spreadsheet into. Again, I don't if I hadn't mentioned before, these are spreadsheets. You can have multiple spreadsheets inside one workbook. So this is your whole workbook, book one, and sheet one is a spreadsheet inside that. There's another sheet, spreadsheet two. It kind of this layout here, the middle layout here, splits it into two multiple kind of spreadsheets with certain number of columns and certain number of rows, and you can add headers here and footers here for each section. Or there's another view here, which kind of, I don't know, makes it much bigger and only shows a part of where your content is. But we won't be using any of those. We'll mostly be using only this view. Yeah. So now pull out your the file you downloaded from my thing, and let's see. These are the examples that we will be working with today. These are the main ones, the important ones for today. Okay. I hope it's big enough. I hope you guys can see it. Okay. Let me close this. So let's rename this to example one payroll statement. Like it says, again, if you want to rename it, you just click on the drop down. You do payroll statement. Just change its name. It changes its name, it saves it. Enter month starting with January and autofill. So here you want to enter, like I showed you before, enter January for one cell. And then are you guys following along, or is it too fast? But we have a lot more to cover. What do I do? Okay. So you just drag this and it'll autofill. And again, before dragging it, it kind of shows you what it's going to fill it with. So if you do it slowly, you can see this will be February, this will be March, and so on, April, and yeah.
How would we add the other spreadsheet to this workbook?
You mean another separate spreadsheet in a different workbook?
The other there's two spreadsheets, right? How do we add it to this workbook?
You mean example one and example two, or example you want to add example two stuff here?
To this workbook, yeah, like create another sheet.
You cannot really import sheets, but you can copy paste the content.
Oh.
So you can kind of see, if you want, you can just do Command A, Control C, and then create a new sheet in your other wherever you want, and then Control V there. It'll copy paste the entire thing. But yeah. Okay. And you'll see why we use multiple sheets. We can import stuff within the other sheets as well. We'll see it later on. Autofill overtime to $3,200. Okay. So how do you autofill for the rest of the stuff? That's it. Just drag it. Enter and copy the commission formula, salary into 15%. commission formula, I want to do salary into 15. So what is my salary cell? Again, remember, anytime before you start a formula, you put the equal to sign. And what is my salary in? What cell is it in? B5, right? And can I do 15% here, or should I do 0.15? You can do either. This is, again, Excel is meant for anybody to use. It's not just for programmers. If it was just for programmers, it would be 0.15, but you can do 15%, it'll still work. And if you wanted, you could also do 0.15, it'll still work. It'll work either way. It understands all of it. So again, if you wanted to do it for all the cells, just drag it and it'll automatically change B5 here to B6. In the formula, you can see B7 and so on. It'll do it for the rest. Enter in order fill the mortgage payment formula, B5 plus into mortgage rate. Okay, mortgage P5 plus C5. Okay, basically your commission, salary, overtime, all of that together times mortgage rate. Your mortgage rate here is 18%. So how do you do it? Equal to, in brackets, select these three into your mortgage rate, right? So would you do 0.18 here or select the cell? Always remember, you can do 0.18 here because it's the same. And if I oops, why to fill the rest? What's it doing? Weird. I think something's messed up on my keyboard. I spilled water in it a while back, so I don't know. Let's see. Okay, you're not supposed to see these. That's weird. Shouldn't happen. It's not changing this formula. It's keeping it the exact same, but I think it is applying. Okay, let's see. But ideally, what you would do here is you would want the sum of these in brackets. Sum of these times this cell, right? Because if I change the mortgage rate here, if I change, again, ignore those for now. If I change the mortgage rate to say 15%, it'll automatically change it here. You see it? So you shouldn't really think of it as formulas and apply formulas the way you would in math, and not don't try to manually enter stuff. Use the content itself so that if I just change the mortgage rate, it'll automatically change everything. I don't know why it's doing this though. I really don't. Okay, is there another way of doing this? There is, right? You could do sum of these three times A16. This is another way of doing it. And this works. It is the exact same thing, but it's another way of doing it, and it doesn't give me the other stuff. So I'm going to do it this way. Does it make sense? You get the formula? This is the sum of these three and so on. So what happens if I drag it? Why? You did it before. Yeah. Why does it give zeros? Think about it. Look at the formula. Anytime you want to figure out what's wrong, check out the formula inside. What is it doing? B5. So this is changing B5, D5 to B6, D6, which is what we want, right? B6 to D6 is this. But what is it changing A to? It's changing A16 to A17, right? What is A17 here? How would you keep that constant? Exactly. Dollar sign where? In front of the 16. Because you don't want 16 to change, right? A is not going to change if you pull it vertically. It doesn't matter. If you're not sure, put dollar for both. But what we want here is in front of 16. Because if I drag it here, it changes A16 to A17. If I drag it vertically, it changes A from 16 to 17, 17 to 18, and so on. Only if I drag it horizontally will it change A to B and so on, right? So I don't have to really care about putting a dollar in front of A because I'm not going to drag it vertically, horizontally. I'm going to drag it only vertically. I hope it makes sense. Okay. Oops.
Is there, like, when I drag stuff down, it's like automatically putting stuff to like bring there and
Did you do some?
uh,
Do some, it works. I don't know why it's not working the other way, but I don't have the time to go into it now. We're already at 4:50. Okay, we did mortgage formula, mortgage payment, and pension formula. Salary plus overtime times 25%. So how do you do that? Salary plus, again, in your sum, your arguments will be separated by commas and not plus. Sum times 25%, right? It said, okay, 25%. And if you drag it, it'll fill it for the rest. What else? Total deductions, mortgage payment plus pension fund. Total deduction should be mortgage payment plus pension fund. So equal to sum of this to this. Enter and drag. You should fill it out for the rest. Mortgage payment and pension fund. Okay. Total pay, insert sum function using function wizard, sum B5 to D5. D5 to D5. Okay. So total pay is just sum from salary, commission, overtime. And it says use function wizard and you can click drag. Okay. This is your function wizard. Wait, where is it? Formulas. The function wizard. Do sum. Here right now it does sum all the way from B5 to G5, but we want only till D5 according to the document. So we'll just do till D5 and drag the rest. It'll just do it. What else? Do column totals using auto sum. So we did all the other sums. So how would I get the total for the entire salary stuff here in just one click? I don't want to type in my formula. What would I do?
the function button and it.
This auto sum, right? That's what auto sum is for. It automatically does it. It selects everything, B5 all the way to B12. And if you drag this, it'll automatically change the rest as well. It'll automatically sum up. So if you go here, it'll do it from C5 to C12, which is this part, and so on. Insert net pay column heading in C cell 14. Okay, cell 14. Net pay. Wait, what did it say? Net pay formula, total pay minus total deductions. Total pay minus, okay, let me do it here. So how do you do total pay minus total deductions? That's it, right? Add the label, average. Another interesting thing. So say I don't want decimals here. What would I do? Right click, format cells. I meant to say format cells. Right click to format cells, go to number, select whatever type you want. So say it's just generic number, but you want no decimals, just move around. I hope you guys can see it. Move around the decimal points, say I don't want any decimals, and it'll remove the decimals. It doesn't give me the decimal now. Remember it had something before? It had 0.2 before, but once I remove the decimal, it changes it. And these are also currency, right? Pay and all of these in reality, if these cells will actually be currencies, right? And not just numbers. So if I put currency, it'll automatically put a dollar symbol in front, it'll add to decimal points after, it'll add the commas and everything you want. And say I don't want the commas, I can just say, I can remove the decimal points and I can say just make it whole numbers, it'll do that as well. Yeah, what else? Add label average in cell G16. G16. Average function to compute average total pay. Okay. say average. And I want to find average total pay. How would I do that? Someone? Exactly. Equals average, all of these. That's it. Wow, 155K a month. I wish I was earning that much. Add the average formula to compute the average total net pay in the cell I16. Average net pay in I16. Where is it? I16. Where do we have net pay? Oops. Oh, we were supposed to do net pay for every single cell. Let's delete this. Let's do net pay as total pay minus deductions. Again, why is it doing this? Weird.
There's something called like hard coding.
Not really, no, here because it's not weird.
Like you can bring up dates halfway through.
We're not selecting multiple stuff, so it shouldn't be doing that. That's weird. But yeah, for now, stick to this. It started highlighting it. What's wrong? And it does in the formula, it says G8 to H8, G8 minus H8, G8. It's not doing that. Ah,
But there's like 3 feet.
oh, possibly. Yep.
Like if you put the window volume on this, there's like another.
No, give me a minute. I might have a duplicate sheet as well. I don't see it. No, I don't.
But like when you click the thing on the bottom, like bottom right,
Yeah,
bottom right,
bottom right.
like those.
Oh, the layout, you mean? I don't think that should change anything. It's just a different layout. It's just a different view. Do you see it? It's just splitting it. It's just splitting your table up into multiple.
Oh, okay.
It's the exact same thing. But okay, let's just stick to this. We don't have time. Oh, it works. I don't know why it's doing that. Maybe I'm not entering something right, but you should just do your formula and it should work. So average of this, I would just do this and would find the average for net pay as well, which is what your thing is asking you to do. We're already out of time. Oh my God. Having a terrible day. Okay, let's do formatting. Formatting cells is percentage and currency whenever required. Oh yeah, we just did that. We did currency. Here you would do format cells, percentage, make it a percentage. Remember your formula uses a cell, it'll still remain the same because you can do either percentage or 0.18. Your formula still will work the same way. Format. So the other thing is you can do bold, you can select stuff. For example, you can select, oops. You can select all the headers and you can do Command B. It'll make it all bold. Again, shortcuts. Conditional formatting. Conditionally formatting table to highlight high net pay cells. Yeah, so if your net pay is beyond a certain value, you can do again, like I showed you before, home, conditional formatting, highlight cells rules greater than, let's say 50K, for example. And everything above 50K will be highlighted and so on. You can do less than, you can do all the other conditions as well. Example 2, now open up your other sheet. Let's fill in the following information as flower shop sales worksheet. Oh, let me close this. Save your name. Oh, whatever, just put in your name. Okay, if you want the same way we did, what is it? The date thing in your JavaScript, you would just do today in this, and it'll give you the exact date today's thing is. So again, look up if you want the formula, you would just do equal to today, and it'll give you today's date automatically. Compute the sales tax, gross income, net income, sales tax. Okay. Let's look at how to do this. It uses an if condition. Again, your if conditions that you use in JavaScript, you would just it's again, you would write it here as well. You could use something like that, but let's see. Gross income is price times number into number sold. Price number sold. Okay. So how do you do this? What would your formula be? It's just price times number sold, right? You just drag it and fill it up for everything else. The same thing for sales tax, rate times gross income. Rate was rate. Okay, rates here. Gross income. Okay, we have gross income right here. So, okay, here it's a tricky thing. G1 into G5, right? Which is what your sales tax into gross income is. Should it be relative? Should anything here be relative or absolute? Or is it right? This is right.
It's right.
It's wrong. This should be absolute, right? Your G1 shouldn't change. Your G1 always remains here. Your sales tax will not change, but your gross income will change from G4 to G5 and so on, right? Do you get it? Do you understand why?
Yeah, I was looking at the wrong column.
Okay.
Let's still do it.
And if you track this, will autofill. Oh, I need a mouse.
Some reviewers mess up or no?
Nope.
Getting like zero value. Wait, I don't know.
My mouse just isn't working well. Ow. The hell?
Had something like two fixed where it automatically like rounded it to two decimals.
You have round. You have a function named round here. You could do that. So you would do in your formula, if you want round off, and this should be inside brackets. And how many decimal points do you want? Okay, 2. It rounds it off. Okay, you get the idea, right? You just drag. I'm not able to drag it for some reason. My mouse just isn't working. Finally. Okay. This is gross. Net income is gross minus sales tax. Sales tax. And just drag it. It should fill the rest. What else? Okay, now let's look at this. Need to reorder. Here's an interesting case, right? So it says if my what was less than 20? D5. Okay, if my bouquets in stock is less than 20, I need to reorder my stock. I need to order for to increase my stock. How would I do that? This is where you use if conditions. We have if in this as well, believe it or not. You do if logical test. Your this D5 greater than less than 20 is your condition. Value if true. If true, I'm saying print yes. If value if false, again, your this is just like your what is it? Visual Studio Code. It helps you out with the arguments for if. So your first argument is logical test, which is your condition, right? So my condition should be D5 less than 20. And if my condition is true, then say yes, then put in yes inside the box. If my condition is false, then put no inside the box. And it'll be yes, because 7 is less than 20, and so on. If you just drag it, it'll fill the rest. So this is a very good application. You don't have to type code yourself. You can just use this. Again, use the round function. I just showed you how to do it. I hope it made sense. You can just do round off. You can just do round off. Your first argument will be your value in itself, which is your formula here. Your second value will be the decimal points you want. If I want 2, I would do 2. If I want 3, I would do 3, and so on for whatever. Okay. Round net income by applying currency formatting. Okay. Net income, I want to round this by applying the currency formatting. How do I apply the currency formatting? We did this before. Right click, format cells. In number, go to currency and put 2 decimal points and do okay. That's it. Changes it to currency, right? We're already out of time. Holy. We haven't even gone to the second sheet yet. Wow. What do you want me to do? Record it or something and post it on YouTube? I really don't want to. It's a long day.
I think a lot of kids are not having their recitation next week.
What do you mean?
Thanksgiving break.
Next week is today's what? 13th?
Thanksgiving break. We only have school Monday, Tuesday.
And Wednesday. That's Friday.
This recitation is on Monday, right? You have off on Thursday and Friday.
Like which days take which schedule day?
Wednesday's Friday.
I know Wednesday's Friday, but I don't know about Monday and Tuesday.
You don't have recitations. I mean, I have a schedule that says I need you.
Monday is Monday, right? Yeah, Monday.
Yeah.
Oh, Monday.
And so Tuesday's Thursday?
Yeah. Tuesday's Thursday. So when is Wednesday gonna be Wednesday? Never?
Never.
You know what I mean? My mom. Yeah.
Oh, so you mean the Monday after Thanksgiving, right?
We have school.
Monday.
You do. The Monday before is Monday.
Yeah, and then Tuesday is Thursday. Wednesday is Friday. So my point is Tuesday is never Tuesday and Wednesday is never Wednesday.
I don't get what you mean. I thought you said the next Monday will be Thursday instead, right? Because the next Monday after Thanksgiving should be a Thursday, right?
Wait, they still mess with the schedules the week after?
They did that last year. I remember that very well. They did that last year.
I think that's, yeah.
Oh,
So
God.
your Monday recitations will be on Wednesday. That messes with my schedule. Then I'll be at work. I just can't show up on Wednesdays.
Wait a second, what? Yeah, that messes up with my work too. I have my days.
Are you sure? It is that way, right?
I don't know what happens the week after. They only sent it for the week before.
Okay, whatever. Let me know if.
No, it's not, because I looked at the academic calendar. That's the only 2 days that get messed up. Is before. So our next Monday is Monday again. So that's my point. There's
Okay, so whenever you don't have a recitation, let me know. That was my point. I just won't show up. That's the whole point. If you don't have a recitation, please let me know. Okay, let's get into it. Apply currency where appropriate. Apply percentages, formatting tax rate. We did this. I mean, you can do it. Right click, format cells, percentage, and it'll change it to a percentage and so on. Currency wherever appropriate. We did it for this. You do it for the rest. What else? I really don't want to do it today. I'm just not in the mood. Do you mind if I record it later and I post it? We're already over as well. I'm sure one of you will go complain. I already know it. I already know it for 100% sure. So what, did you want to leave? Can you all promise you won't complain for once? I mean, I'm already not there anymore. I'm legit not there next semester. So I'm just.
You not fired them, or they just like
they just didn't email me the schedule for next semester. All the other TAs got it. I wanted to quit myself. I don't want to get fired. There's a difference. Me getting fired is different from me quitting myself. I wanted to have.
Laid off. Because Professor Lau told us at the start of the semester that most of the TAs change, like semester to semester.
No.
do you have another job?
Oh, I do.
Where you work?
I do it just out of passion, believe it or not. I do this, it pays terrible. It pays like, it pays,
What's your other?
it pays 1.5K a month. That's all it pays.
What's your other job?
The whole semester, the money I make the whole semester doing this, I make in a month doing my co-op. It doesn't make, financially, it makes no sense at all. I just do it out of interest.
What's your other job?
I work as a data scientist at a investment firm, which I cannot disclose. It's in Wall Street.
Is it like JP Morgan or something?
It's not. I cannot. If it was JP Morgan, I could have told you it's JP Morgan, but this is a very, it's private equity. Yep. I can't tell who it is.
I need a plug. Did you look me up?
Oh, believe it or not, the week before, I think I was telling Chano and Anna, right? I was planning on putting out, so I got a bunch of emails that said you can refer people. So they were actually recruiting. The week before you guys screwed me over the first time, I told Anna and Chano, they both were there after the recitation. They both spoke to me, and I told them I was planning on giving you guys, sending that email to you guys and asking for referral intakes. But
are you still doing that?
I mean, why should you give me one reason. There are 8 people. There are 8 people from both sections who are complaining. So I legit don't know who it is at this point. It can be any of you guys.
Find out. Can we get the referral?
You still cannot. I mean, it's you guys have messed me up so bad. It's not even funny anymore. I'll record the rest of the second example and post it on YouTube. You can watch it whenever, but I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I think I'm recording now. Let's get right into it. Your second example, this will be the flower shop sales worksheet. I just changed my name and I showed you how to do this. I'll do it again just in case. If you want your date today, you would do today, and open brackets, close bracket will give you the date for today, whatever the day is. If it's tomorrow, it'll give you tomorrow's date and so on. Compute the sales tax, gross income. We just did this. You have the formulas in the sheet. You can just apply those formulas. We did this if condition as well. You would do if the condition satisfies what you want. If the condition satisfies, what do you want to print if the condition doesn't satisfy, and so on. I showed you guys how to use the round function. I'll do it again. You can just do round off. This will be a formula. Your first argument will be whatever your formula is, and second argument will be the number of decimal places you want, and so on. So this is how you use round. I think it's big enough. Okay, we saw this slide. We actually completed the slide. Apply currency formatting where appropriate. Apply percentage formatting to tax rate. We did that as well. This was 0.09. We made it 9%. Fill in columns using sum. Fill in column totals using sum. Column totals. Okay, so we have column totals here. And what would we do if we wanted the sum? The simplest way to do it is go to formulas and auto sum, right? Just select everything before that until, so in this case, it'll be P5 to P14. It'll give you the sum, and just extrapolate it for the other things, and it will automatically add up the sums and give you the sum. For this case, it'll be 0 because these are not these are not numbers, these are strings. So it doesn't make sense to add up strings in Excel. So I'll just give you a 0. We'll see what we need to do there for that case. But let's look at the other things before doing this number of items. Let's do mean, median, maximum, and so on. So if I want to find the maximum of the median of all of these, I would just do median, select all of these values, close it. It will give me the median. Median is, again, the mathematical operator where you arrange all of your things in ascending order, and the one in the middle is what is your median, and so on. So let's do it for all the other columns as well. Oops. It doesn't make sense for this, so it's strings again, so it will not return anything. For maximum, you just do max, and you select the cells, the range you want, and just do. Oops. And you just, again, extrapolate it the same way. And for min, it's simple again, min, and just do the exact same thing. It's very self-explanatory. It's not like JavaScript. It's more intuitive for you guys. It should be much simpler. Just drag it, you get the minimum of the other things. And let's now look at how to count the number of items with values. So that's where we use count A, count if with the criteria, and so on. So let's look at it. Count A is what counts the cells with alphanumeric values. So let's take an example where you have alphanumeric values. In this case, you have alphanumeric values, right? You don't really have a cell where you have alphanumeric values, but let's say, for example, this cell, it has both. Let's first do it from this. Count number of items with values, text, and numbers. Alphanumeric, remember, again, it signifies both text and numbers. It's not just numbers or text. So let's do count A. Oops, again, I did enter by mistake. Don't do that mistake. When you want something, click on tab and select this whole list. It should be 10, because if we select this, again, if you want to look at things like average, sum, the most commonly used popular ones, you should see it right on the below on the bottom in the window pane here. It'll show you the sum, it'll show you the count, it'll show you the average. We have 10 from 5 to 14. So it should be 10. So similarly for everything, it will be 10, because everything has either an alphabet or either alphanumeric values, either string or numbers. For numbers only will be count. So this will be 10 again. Everything else will be 10 apart from this column, because it doesn't have numbers in it. If I just extrapolate it, it'll be 0, because these are all strings and not numbers. So it'll be 0. Number of items with text only. How do you do this? There's another function where you do COUNTIF and you do the range along with the criteria. So if you want text only here, the criteria will be sum is equal to COUNTIF your range, and for string your criteria is just star. If you just do star, this will be 0, because there's no string for that column. If I just extrapolate this, every other column will have 0, if you notice, for this row, apart from this, because this has only strings. Need to reorder has yes or no. So that will be 10. I hope that makes sense. So your criteria can be a bunch of things. Here, this criteria just checks if it's a string. If you put in a star, I can put in criterias like, I don't know, greater than, you have a bunch of 6s. So let's say 6, for example, right? I'll get 6. So let's count the number of things that are above 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it matches. So your criteria can be anything here, and your criteria should go within double quotes, because you're inputting it as a string. Your argument is a string. The stuff you're passing to your function, your parameters are strings. So put it within double quotes and put your condition here. So for the condition we wanted, it was star, and it'll do only the text, but you can change around your conditions as you want. Set landscape mode. I don't think I showed you guys this. page layout, orientation, go to page layout, orientation, change it from portrait to landscape. It just changes how, when you print it, it'll change it to a certain way. So it's not really something that you'd use on a daily basis, except if you're printing it. So it changed the layout to whatever, landscape. If you wanted portrait layout, just again, page layout, orientation, portrait. And if you go file, print, you'd see in a different layout. Is the only difference. What else? Okay, example 3, gradebook and grades. We haven't even gone into that yet. Let's look at gradebook. This is very interesting stuff. So VLOOKUP is a very commonly used tool that can be complex to understand in the beginning, but as you use it, it'll get more and more intuitive. Let's look at that. Switch to the gradebook worksheet. Here we are in the gradebook worksheet. Let me make it bigger for you. Okay. Let's see, gradebook will use information in grades worksheet. Let's go to grades. So here you have a bunch of people's names and their scores in exams, just like normal students. And in your grades worksheet, you have ranges. So if it's 90 and above, it's grade A. If it's 80 to 90, it's grade B. If it's 65 to 80, it's grade C. If it's 50 to 65, it's grade E. If it's anywhere between 0 and 50, it's grade F, fail, and so on. So it's very intuitive, right? This is something that we would apply on a daily basis. So this is something that we could use for calculating your own grades as well, based on the points that you've gotten. I think for you, it's out of 500, but on a whole, your percentage should look something like this. So I don't want to manually check each. So if I have, say, 10 students here, it's fine. But if I have a bunch of 500,000, 10,000 students, it's going to be really complex to go through every single point and assign them a grade. But you could use VLOOKUP instead here, right? It's very intuitive. Let's see how to do that. You would just do equal to VLOOKUP tab. The first thing will be the lookup value. So what do you want to look up? The value in itself, again, try to use these arguments that Excel prompts properly. If you understand what they mean, it's very simple. You don't even have to think or remember stuff. Just select this. Your lookup value is 90. So you want to assign a grade to score 90, right? It can be 90, it can be 95, it can be 100, it can be 84. You want to assign a value to that particular cell. So next will be your table array. If you look at it, your table array does not exist here. The table array in itself is here. So you want to assign a grade from this table, right? The table that I select is this. It is going to be A4 all the way till B8. And that's exactly what it's doing. But remember, this is from another sheet. It's not from my gradebook sheet. It's from my grade sheet. So you have a grades exclamation point symbol to indicate that your Excel automatically does that. It's pretty cool. And you have index number, column index number. So the column index number indicates the column in which the grade is present that you want for your program to display, your output, basically. So here, the index, so our table is from A4 to B8. Remember that. This is your table, this entire thing, all the way till here. Your column, you have two columns here. Your first column is points, all 0, 50, 65, 80, and 90. And your second column is grades, right? So you ideally want your grade to show up there because you have points. Your input here is points. Your B2 here was 90, remember? Here you want your grade. So here your value will be 2. Your column here is 2. The second column is what you want. The grade is what you want for your program to display. And range lookup. This has either two values, true or false. Again, if you put in true, it'll again show you what it means. True is approximate match and false is exact match. So what exact match means here is, if I give it an exact match, it'll match for this case because 90 is present and it has A. But if it sees anything between 80 and 90, for example, anything between 80 and 90 should be B, right? But your program wouldn't understand that. Your code will not understand that. Your code will just look for 80. If 80 is not present, it'll just not do it. So let's see what happens. So if you do true, it basically means approximate match, which is the range. It counts 80 to 90 as B. It counts 65 to 80 as C. It counts 50 to 65 as D, and so on. But if you do false, let's first do it the wrong way and try to understand why it's wrong. If you give false, oops, I should have given tab. You'll give an A grade. You'll get an A grade for this because 90 is present. 80 is also present here in B, so you'll also get a B grade. But for 95, you won't get anything. Let's see. 80, you get B. For 95, it's NA because it doesn't exist here, right? 95 in itself doesn't exist in the points column. It doesn't exist in your first column. I hope this makes sense. So in this case, you would want approximate matching. You would want 95. So the way approximate matching works is, again, you would give true here instead of false in your last argument. You would give true, and it still will not work properly. Let me tell you why. It gives you a lot of other NAs, right? Why do you think so? Because remember, here in your formula, you have to use absolute and relative values the right way, absolute and relative cells the right way. In this case, your first, your B2 should change to B3 and so on. So your B2 here in VLOOKUP will change to B3. That's perfect. But your grades A4 to B8 in this sheet should always remain A4 to B8. Your table does not change. It doesn't become A5 to B9. It doesn't become A6 to B10 and so on, right? But that's what your code is going to do. It's going to make it A5 to B9 and so on. But this shouldn't change. Remember, it should be absolute. So what would you do? You would just give dollars in front of the column and the row to make it constant. And now if I drag it, it should work. It works perfectly. You can check your grades. You would have gotten the right grade for every single point. Again, another important thing that I wanted to mention about approximate matching, since we're giving true here, it's approximate matching and not exact matching, like I said. So if the value 90 doesn't exist, it still works. The way it does it is it checks if you have, say, 71, for example, it goes through the points column. It goes through, it sees 0, is that a match? No. 50, is that a match? No. 65, is that a match? No. 80, it knows it's gone beyond 71, right? It knows that it's crossed 71 in value, it checks it, and it goes back. It goes back by, so it'll come here, your code will run through, it'll come here. The code, when I say code, I mean the code that Excel people have written. You don't write code for this. It'll see 80 is bigger than 71, and it'll go back a step. It'll go to 65, it'll go to A6, and it'll see, okay, it's between 65 and 80, I'll give it C. That's how it works. So regardless of how your thing is, that is how it works. So remember, it's very important. It's extremely important that your table here is in ascending order. So what happens if your table is 90, 80, 65 in the reverse order? It doesn't work properly, right? Your code, your VLOOKUP messes up. The way VLOOKUP works is it goes through everything. It sees 0 is less than 71, 50 is less than 71, 65 is less than 71. It goes to 80. It sees 80 is greater than 71. It goes a step back. It goes to 65, sees, okay, 65 is, we've crossed 71. So let's go a step back. 65, it'll just assign grade C. And you see, this assigns grade C. So it's very important that your lookup table, this is your lookup table, is arranged in ascending order. Otherwise, it will not, your VLOOKUP will not work properly. So again, your arguments for VLOOKUP, let me do it again here. Let me type this entire thing out. Equal to VLOOKUP. Your lookup value in itself. Your lookup value is 80. So this is the value that you're trying to change to. This is the score that you're trying to give a grade to. So that should be your first argument, your lookup value. Your table array. Your table array is, again, the table from which you want your grades to be taken from and given to your new table that you're trying to create, which here is not in, why is it grade book? It should be grades. Oh, yeah, it is grades. It should be grades here. That's a mistake. It should be in grades. That's weird. Let me do it again. Grades, this should be a table. Is it doing the formula there? It's weird. Grades. And then that'll be a table array, and then your column index number. So your column index number here will again be whatever column you want your output to be from. So in this case, it has to be from the second column. So we remember we picked A4 to B8. So your column here has to be the second column. Another important distinguishing factor, your column always has to be the column where you're looking up your value, your table array. Your first column in your table array should always have the value that matches with your lookup value here. So your 80, the score that you're checking for, is present in the first column here. It should always be present in the first column. So I cannot give grade here and then points here and then give my column here as that. So let's see why. So here again, you want your grade, which is in column 2, right? Your grade is present in column 2. So that's why you give 2 here, which is what you want as an output in this table. You want your grade as an output. So you would give grade. If you want score, you would just give 1. So let's see what happens if I give 1. And your range lookup. Again, I went through this in detail. It's either true or false because of so and so reasons. If it's false, it's exact matching. Exact matching only looks for 90, 80, 65, 50, and 0. It doesn't look for ranges between 0 to 50, range between 50 to 65, range between 65 to 80, and so on. So you either do true. If you do true, what is going on? Oh. 1, yeah, you either do true, approximate match, or false. So we want true. Again, I clicked enter by mistake. It's out of habit. Should be a tab, do tabs. In this case, you would get 80 because you're outputting column 1, right? So it's doing all the match, and then it's outputting this. So let's see what happens if we extrapolate that to all the cells. It will give you, oops, this should be absolute again. It should not be relative. Remember, because your table in itself, your lookup table in itself doesn't change. Your lookup table cells, these cells remain the same. These don't change. So it should always be dollars for those. Pull it down. You would get the matching values in this. It would print 80, 90, 65 here. The values are here. So it basically belongs to the 80 band, 90 band, 65 band, 90 band, and so on, right? So here you can see the exact 71 example that I told you how it works. It matches it to 65 here, and that's how it gives it a C grade. So let's change it back to whatever it was, second column, right? Which is what the grade was, which is what we wanted. That's perfect. And let's try flipping this around. Let's try, like I said before, let's try giving points first. Let's not delete it. Let's give this as our table now, right? Let's see if it works. It won't work. This is how VLOOKUP works. Let's see. So let's do VLOOKUP again. The best way to learn things is by making mistakes. It's try to get the code to not work or whatever you're doing to not work and try to understand why it doesn't work. And that's the best way to learn anything. Lookup value here is again 80, right? Your table array now. So I told you the value that you're looking up, your value 80 here, your score, the points should always be in the first column of the table you're selecting. So remember we selected table A4 to B8, which was our selected table. Our first column had the value points. But now if I select the table B4 all the way till C8 in the grade sheet, remember it's exactly the same table, but it's just switched. Your grades is in the first column and your points is in the second column here, right? It's the exact same points here. I've just copy pasted that stuff here. Your column index here that you want to return will be 1 because you want to return the grade. There's the output column index, which is FDCBA for grade 80. You want to see how it does. And range lookup will again be approximate matching. So let's see what happens. It'll be NA. Your code will not, your formula will not work. It's because, again, as I mentioned, the value it looks up for, VLOOKUP works only in the first column. It'll always look for values in the first column. So it'll look for values here, FDCBA, and it'll see that 80 doesn't exist in that column because the table that you'd selected here, the table that you'd given your formula, B4 to C8, starts off with column B. And column B does not have your scores. It doesn't have your points. So yeah, that's how it works. So always make sure when you have your lookup table, put your points in the first column of the lookup table and arrange it in ascending order. And that's when it works. These are two important things that you should know. It works as intended. Add comment. So let's do another thing. So here we have comments. So your grades and comments, your grade A, if it's grade A, give them a comment distinction. Grade B, give them comment credit. Grade C, pass. Grade D, fail, so on. So how do you do this again? It's another VLOOKUP case, right? Equal to VLOOKUP. What is your lookup value? Your lookup value this time is the grade. So C2. And your lookup table in itself, remember again, you're looking up for grade. So your grade should be in the first column of your a table array here, the table you're passing. Again, it's in the grade sheet, so grades exclamation point. And then your index number. The index that you want this time is again in index 2, your comment, right? Your comment is what you want to output into that into your other sheet. And will it be exact matching or approximate matching again? It will be approximate, right? Because anything, oh, it should be exact, my bad. Because you have your exact grades. You get it? Because it should be exact matching because you have grades A, B, C, D, F. You don't have anything between A and B. In this case, you had numbers between 50 to 65. So it can be 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, and so on. There is no exact matching here. It doesn't apply. In this case, even if you do approximate matching, it doesn't matter. And if you don't give anything here, by default, it assumes exact matching. You can also not give anything here. But ideally, I would suggest to start off with, to begin with, try using all the values to get a whole hang of what the function does and all of its arguments. I would give false because, again, A matches exactly, it gives distinction. There's no value between A and B for grade. Doesn't make sense. Give enter, distinction, and drag it down. It fills out the rest. Again, it should be absolute values, not relative here because your table in itself, your lookup table in itself doesn't change. If we put the dollar signs and do this, it should work. It does. Average, median, we saw these before. Pretty simple. Average of the points. Median of the points. It's very straightforward. Highest, again, we saw max of. This will be min of. And so on. Merge cells and grades and use word wrap. Oh yeah, we'll look at that. But before that, I think we're done with all of this. Again, if you want to change precision, right click, format cells, number, whatever, currency, you can do anything. Let's do 2 decimal points. It has a lot of decimals. It just rounds it off to 2. Or another way of doing it again, we saw round off. You can do that as well. So if you want it round, you would do round off. My bad, I keep doing enter. You have to do tab if you want thing to autocomplete in Excel. So your first argument should be your value in itself, which will be the formula average of so and so. And the second value should be the decimal points you want to round it to, let's say 4. Oh, since we already did precision of 2, it will not work because in the format cells, here we set 2. It overrides it, but let's do something like 8. And let's see if 4 works. Now let's do format cells. Sorry, let's do round off. It already has formula round off. I think format cells overrides it then. Let's do format cells. Or yeah, I think format cells overrides it. But if you just wanted to round without doing format cells, you can do that as well. This is the syntax for it. So the next stuff is merging cells, grades, and all that. Let's see. Let's go to grades. So you can see here that this value in itself spans over a lot of cells, right? So this is in a separate cell. I mean, it's not in a separate cell. It's all the value of this entire thing is in one cell, but it spans over multiple cells here. And say I want to make this entire thing one single cell. I would just select them all. Is it data merge cells? We just have to look for merge cells. Home. Right click. I think it will merge cells. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's right here. Merge and center. So let's do merge cells. It would make this one single cell. And similarly, let's say this also spans over multiple cells. Let's say I want to make it all one cell as well, just like that. Drop down, merge cells. This window in itself might look different for different people. This might look bigger for certain people. This might be like stretched out, but just look for the symbol and you'll be able to find it. Similarly, let's do this as well. Let's select this and make it merge cells so that we have like a table layout for this. This entire thing is just 3 single cells. And let's do format cells, border. Let's select like a outline and inside, and let's do this. Doesn't that look good? Or let's just do outline. Format cells. Okay. It'll give me the outline. What else? Word wrap. So let's take the cell for example, and let's say we just wanted to, we want the words to wrap around. So after say above the V here, I want the rest of it to go below and just increase the height of my cell and not kind of go over the other stuff. So you would select the cell, you would go to this option, wrap text, click on the drop down, wrap text. It kind of increases the height of the cell and puts the content that's beyond the with the cell below the stuff that was previously there. Yeah, that's about it. Add borders. We saw this again. Landscape. We saw how to do that. Page layout, orientation. You can change it to landscape or whatever you want. Conditional formatting. Gradebook if grades less than. We will do this as well. Conditional formatting. Let's go back to gradebook. So we want to assign kind of colors for grades based on what their scores are, if their points are certain points. How do you do conditional formatting? Go to the home tab, conditional formatting, select the stuff you want. Again, that's the first step in everything. Click on conditional formatting. Highlight cell rules. What do we want here? 0 to 64. It's like range, right? These are ranges. These are not exactly greater than, less than. It should be between 0 and I think 64, it said. 0 and 64, make it red. Make it, I don't know, red border. Light red fill with dark red text. So the next conditional formatting, again, will be 65 to 80 yellow greater than 80 green. 65 to 80, highlight cell rules between 65 to 80. I think it was yellow. Let's do yellow. And conditional formatting, highlight cells between, I think above 80. No, it should be greater than. So it's not in between. So highlight cells just greater than 80 should be, was it green? I think green. Yep. So as you can see now, we have scores greater than 80 in green, scores between 65 and 80 in yellow, and below 65 in red. It makes your sheet look much more interactive in a way. Sort flower shop in descending order by net income. Before going to flower shop, we can do it in this itself. It's again, how would you sort something? So say I want to sort this table. I would select the entire table, go to data, the data tab here, click on sort, sort by what value do you want, what column do you want to sort by? Pull this down. We want to sort by points here, right? Ideally, points makes the most sense. So I want to sort by points, smallest to largest. No, we want it from largest to smallest. I want it in descending order. That's how the word works. We always look at the highest scorers first for whatever reason. So largest to smallest, and let's do okay. It just sorts your table. It gives your table according to the scores that people got. So this looks more cleaner. All the green scores grouped together, yellows grouped together, and then threads. So distinctions, credit, pass, whatever, fail, and so on. Sort grade book by highest grade. Yeah, you can do that. You can basically select stuff and sort based on. Let's just do it for this as well, just in case. Select your entire table, content, and what did it say? By net income. Data again, go to data, data, sort, and sort by, what did it say? Net income. To net income, again, the way the world works. We just care about the people who make the most money. So largest to smallest again, descending order. Yeah, just rearranges the entire table. That's about it. Switch to loans worksheet. The first column, colored column, percent down is already complete. Just calculate the top percentage down payment. Loans. Let's look at this. Yep. So as we can see, there are loan numbers, there are total price, down payment for the price of the loan, the amount financed, there's the amount that they get from the bank or whoever is lending them the money. The percentage down payment is subtracted from the total price, which will be the down payment, and amount financed. Basic down payment was calculated from that. It's already done. It's basically, if you look at it, the formula is just C9 divided by D9. So that's how they, C9 divided by B9. So from the total amount, if you divide the down payment percent, you'll get 20%, which shows you that the remaining amount financed, the number of years they have, and then the rest. So we'll be filling out APR, monthly payment, and monthly insurance. Let's look at how to do that. APR is annual percentage rate. We'll complete the APR column using VLOOKUP function to get the APR corresponding to the number of years for each customer based on years rate. Okay. So here we have a table, years and rate percentage. So here we have the years for the person, and we want to assign this this APR, annual percentage rate, based on the table that we have here. How do you do that again? It's a traditional VLOOKUP that we saw. VLOOKUP, the value that you're looking for itself here is 25, which you want to match with the rate here, right? So again, remember your table, you would have an approximate matching here because 25 in itself is not a value inside your table that you're looking up for. So in your table, you have no values 25, it just has 10, 20, and 30, but you want 25 to show up. So you would do approximate matching here. And because of that reason, you would have your table stored in ascending order. It should be stored from 10, 20, and 30. It should not be 30, 20, and 10. It will not work. I'll show you what happens if you do that as well. Your table array in itself should contain the first column of your table array should be years, the years that you're looking up for here. Your if it's rate in the first column and years in the second column, it will not work. Again, I showed you why. Your column index here is what you want as an output. Your output here, you want to be the rate percentage. So it'll be column 2. And true or false. You want true approximate matching because it's a range. And you get 6.75%, which is between 20 and 30. And that's why you get 6.75. Again, dragging this will not work because your table in itself should be relatively addressed, right? Because your table here does not change. If regardless of whether I drag or not, your table here should not change. Your column here should change. Your row here should change from F9 to F10 to F11 and so on. So let's drag it now and it'll work as intended. Yep. So now let's see what happens if I do 30, 20, and 10 instead. Let's see if it works. It doesn't work properly as intended, as you can see, because it's running through, it's seeing that 25 is greater than 30. It just goes all the way back. It just gives 8.20. It's not right? It's not matching the right way. So your values here, when you're doing approximate matching, should always be arranged in ascending order. It's a very important thing to remember. Now it'll be right. Yeah, so hopefully. There are two, again, try to remember when you're doing VLOOKUP, the table you're looking up, if it's approximate matching, should have values arranged in ascending orders. Again, only if it's approximate matching, because the way it works is it goes through 25 years. It sees 10, is 10 greater than 25? No. So it goes next. Is 20 greater than 25? No. Is 30 greater than 25? Yes. So then it goes a step back. Is 30 greater than 25? Yes. It goes a step back. It matches it to 20. And since we're outputting column 2 here in our formula, we're outputting column 2, it gives out 6.27% and whatnot. What was this? Oh, it was 2. My bad. Yeah, so it gives us 6.27%. It needs to be in ascending order. And again, this is regardless of whether approximate matching or exact matching. The value that you're looking up for should always exist in the first column of the table you're selecting. So the table I'm selecting here is from D4 to E6, D4 to E6. The table the value that I'm looking up for should always stay in the first column of your selected table. This is universally true. Let's go to the next part, monthly payment. We're nearing towards the end of the recitation. Spent an hour extra, but I just wasn't in the mood today. Whatever. PMT. So monthly payment column. This is automatically, it's a function written by Excel to generate monthly payment stuff. It's a very commonly used tool by bankers and credit people. So we'd be using that function. But as every other function, functions take in values in a certain way, right? They expect arguments in a certain way. They expect parameters in a certain way to be passed to them. So PMT function calculates the payment of a loan based on constant payments and a constant interest rate. Your interest rates cannot change for you to use the PMT function as intended. It needs three main parameters: interest rate, number of payment periods, present value. So your interest rate, we have an interest rates here in APR. Number of payment periods, number of payments per year. So we have number of payments per year, and we have payment period here. So remember, so your number of payment periods will be 25 into 12. You have 25 years, you have 12 times per year. So your total number of payments will be 25 times 12, which I think is 300. Yeah, it's 300. So that's what you have to pass here. You have to pass 300 here and not 25 in itself or 12 in itself. These are important things to understand about the functions that you're using, what it takes in as input. It takes in number of payment periods. There is a mismatch related to the time dimension. This is the one that I was mentioning. The interest rate is an annual interest rate, and the required solution is a monthly payment. This needs to be fixed when setting the parameters of the function. Turning the annual percentage rate into a monthly by dividing the APR by number of payments per year on B5. Example, G9 by B5. G9 by B5. Yes, so this is your percentage annual percentage rate is 6.75%, but you're paying it in 12 installments over the year. So you'll be paying only 6.75 divided by 12 in each of your payment cycles for monthly payments, right? So you'd have to do 6.75 divided by 12. And again, here your B5 is absolutely referenced because your B5 in itself doesn't change. If you drag it, it shouldn't go to B6, it shouldn't go to B7. Those have different values. It should just change your first G9 to G10 and so on. So here, let's look into it. Converting the number of periods, year column, years column also into months by multiplying them by B5, example F9 into, oops. Oh, this is the one I was talking about. So your other argument will be F9 times B5 because you have number of payments per year and 25 years. So for total number of payments, you would do that 25 into 12, which should be number of payment periods here. Your interest rate again should be in a monthly rate, and that's why we're doing G9 by B5. The way the time-related parameters, number of periods, interest rate would be expressed in monthly terms, producing therefore the monthly payment amount. The final formula, again, we can do this ourselves. So equal to EMT, this is the payment thing, your rate in itself. So let's do another bracket. Oops. Your rate in itself should be this G9 divided by this, right? It should be monthly. Remember, we're doing monthly payments. So the parameters that you're passing should be monthly stuff. So B5 should be absolutely referenced because it shouldn't change when I drag it. That's your first argument. So now number of payments. This number of payments is your next parameter, which should be this. Let's do another bracket. It should be this times this. And again, here B5 should again be it should not be E9, it should be F9. And this should again be absolute and not relative because your B5 doesn't change, your interest rate doesn't change. And your final parameter is present value. present value, which is again here, amount finance will be your present value, I think, right? Yeah, it should be amount finance. So this is the amount you're taking out as loan. The rest you're putting it down as a down payment, so you don't have to repay it back, if that makes sense. So this is your final amount. If I pass it in, it should return me my monthly payment, which is $3,800. If I just drag it, it should work for everything else because I've used the proper absolute referencing. This is again a very important thing you'd have to note. The absolute referencing for B5 here, because your B5 in itself shouldn't change when I drag it. Only my F9 here, which is my years, as I drag it, it should change. And my G9 here, which I drag here, it should change amount financed and so on. So my monthly, oops, again, this messes up. If you just select a cell and do random stuff, it messes it up. Monthly insurance. Let's look at monthly insurance. Oh, we're finally done. Spend so much time here. Monthly insurance column. Your monthly insurance is known as PMI, is calculated as follows. Loan amount times monthly insurance rate. So your loan amount times monthly insurance rate. Here we have it'll be D9 again. Your loan amount will be D9 times monthly insurance rate. Again, remember it's on a yearly basis, so you should convert it to a monthly basis because it's a monthly payment. You would do 0.55 by 12, so it would be B6 divided by B5, B6. Yes, because you have B5 number of 12 here. Let's do it. Equal to your amount financed. Is it times? Yeah, it's times. In brackets, your insurance rate annually divided by the number of payment cycles per year, right? So it should be 12. Again, don't do 12 because if I change this, it should change it by itself. This will not work if I drag it because these two should be absolute. It should not change regardless of what cell I'm dragging it down to. And if I drag it down, it should work properly because it'll change D9 here to D10, but it'll keep the rest the same. If you notice it, D10, D11, D12, and it works. Yeah, that's about it. It's a really long recitation. I'm sorry about posting it as a recording. I just feel so uneasy today. For some reason, I feel like I'm breathing heavy. But yeah, hopefully it's all good. Hopefully you guys didn't complain. If you do, it's fine. It's at this point, I don't even care. Yep, good luck with your exams. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.